Gotta put my money away. I just signed up for a 10K. I have all this cash in here. I look like a stripper.
Good job. Good job on tips.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello. And welcome. I don't know where I'm going with that. We're back. We're back. It's Friday, March 23rd. I'm back with Honerkamp. We're going to do a quick post-mortem on what went down almost a week ago, which feels like yesterday.
Wow.
In Virginia
Beach
was where we were. Virginia Beach. The race went so effing good.
I was bummed I could not be there, but I heard good things.
Yeah, Honerkamp was like, we should all do Virginia Beach. It's going to be so much fun. We're all going to party. And then he was like, oh, I can't go.
Yeah. But you went, and you proved that I had a good idea, and I should have followed through on my own idea.
You missed out. We had so much fun. But, oh my God, did it hurt like hell.
Was the course flat like they say?
There was one hill, which looking back at the elevation chart, it doesn't really show it, but it's like a good 2 miles of like an incline.
In the middle or towards the end?
No, in the beginning. It's like I want to say like miles 4 to 5, like 3 to 5-ish. Maybe 6. I don't remember. The hill was fine. Like we crushed the hill. But it definitely was like a nice little, for a while. And I was like, this is never going to end. And then at that point, like we went on to an army base and there was like no one.
Right. No fans?
No, nothing. For like 4 miles. My only mistake was taking my gel too late. I took it at 8 and that's when I told Jeannie to fuck off.
I'm starving.
She did that thing where she's like, come on, we're going to dig deep. And I'm like, I am digging deep. Fuck off.
So maybe mile 7 next time?
I'm going to take it at 6.
6.
I talked to Dr. Bob about this today. I never fuel when I do my long runs just because it's cold.
Right.
And I don't feel like I need to, and I don't feel like I'm running hard enough. But I saw on my plan for this tomorrow, when I'm supposed to do 16, that said to practice my fueling strategy.
Right.
Let's talk about the fueling strategy first. Because I normally, like if I'm running a marathon, I normally take a gel, 15 to 20 before we start. Mm-hmm. And then I think I take it every 5 miles. Does that sound right?
Yeah. Does that seem to work?
Yes.
And how about the Gatorade and water?
I do every other.
Right.
So if I take a gel, I take water. And then from there, alternate.
Yeah.
Unless I'm like really feeling like I'm dying. I think during Chicago, I remember like once we passed 18, like I was Gatorading.
Right.
Like 2 cups at a time. But it was also hot.
Yeah. And
I felt like death. So, should I take it every 5 miles tomorrow?
You probably, just for practice sake and kind of getting that rhythm down. Because I kind of, I'm like you, I don't often fuel when I do my long runs, but obviously race day you fuel.
And like I'm running really hard on race day. Like I'm not going to run really hard tomorrow.
You probably, if you're taking it every 5 miles, well, I guess you're doing, you could probably take, I guess you could take
6?
You could do 6 and 12 and then be
done.
Just to kind of practice with the, the process, but it's not as urgent obviously on race day. And then it's supposed to be spring here in New York with the water fountains opening, but it's
I wonder what the weather's like
just
tomorrow.
snow to foot, so not quite
it's
spring.
Really hot out right now.
Yeah, it's warm now.
It's 47 right now. 48, excuse me. Tomorrow it's going to be high of 45. Okay, so it'll be hot. It'll be pretty hot.
I would just bring those singles with you.
Yeah.
And if there's no water fountains, get your make sure you definitely hydrate with water.
Oh, I hate holding a water bottle.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk training, and then we'll talk race, and then we'll talk about what's to come. So far, I think things are going very well.
Feeling pretty good?
This guy, like my training plan doesn't have the track days though, and you've been giving me track days.
Right. I kind of throw those in there just because I like them.
Yeah, so do I.
This breaks it up. This is more rotated through hills and fartlek, which...
I'm using a run tricks plan, and then Honerkamp's kind of giving me little tweaks along the way. Or the run tricks, like the cool thing about run tricks is that it adapts with you as you go. So it reads your paces, how you're performing based on, like it starts with your goal and then it adjusts based on how much you're running, how little you're running, what you are running, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Paces, your effort levels.
Yeah. What have you observed thus far?
Well, you're typically in a really good mood, which I didn't train you the first 2 times.
That's true.
So I don't know. I can't compare it to
Anything.
anything.
That was not the case in the last 2 times.
But you seem to be enjoying yourself, which I think is key. Even the cool thing about the half in Virginia Beach is we wanted to have fun, and we set it up to like a few easy miles, like 4 easy miles, 4 medium miles, and then race.
Yeah.
And I think that lends itself to going out smart.
Yeah.
And not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah.
And not being too focused on a certain time, and then you ran 144.
Yeah, 54.
Right, but it
Almost
wasn't like you're trying to run. So I think that's a good way to do it. Where if you were trying, if you had to run 140 or 142.30 and you're 2 minutes off, and you're pissed off, and it's a negative. I think if we're just letting it come to us.
Yeah.
And having fun. I think that's you have to enjoy what you're doing. Doesn't mean it's not hard along the way.
Yeah.
So I think that's what I'm getting out of your training, because I'm having fun, you're having fun. You're still relatively healthy. You're obviously doing all your little things to stay healthy. The long runs obviously kick in now, so those are gonna be important.
That was interesting how it went from like 13 to 16.
Yeah, well, this is for me. Looking at my program now, this is because this is the NYC half that I did.
But mine does that too. So like, I did 13 the week before the race, and then I did 13 the half, and then this week I have 16.
Yeah, it kind of goes up and down. We kind of hard easy. Like mine, for example, has 16 this week, then 13, then 18, then 14.
That's
then
exactly
19,
what I have.
and 14. It's kind of like hard easy.
Yeah.
And then they're building me to 21, where I think you're 22.
22.
That's just based on your incoming mileage. So you probably came in running more than I did. And then 11, 9, and then race. So that's really just a lot of programs will build you a couple weeks in a row and then take a down week. I think it's important for us to run like a really long run and then come back down and regroup. Because if you have a crappy long run and you have to do a longer run the next weekend.
Yeah, I find that's
like, oh my God.
The worst.
And a lot of programs have you doing 3 long runs in a row. And
yeah.
The 4th, and that's more like a pro schedule. So these books that you find that have programs from like the Hal Higdons, no offense, like it's for a more advanced runner. From like the 70s and 80s, where everyone was just running Boston. So I like the approach where it's a long week and then a short week, a long week and a short week. Once you get up to like 10 or 12 mile runs, I'll go 12, 14, 12, 16, 12, 18. This is just building you like by 3s versus 2s.
It was just shocking to me because I've never done that before. Like I've always done the 3 where it goes like 14, 15, 16, 10 or 13 or whatever.
I just find that people are just who have regular jobs and families, if you have a bad long run, if you have a bad 16 and you have to do 18 and then 20 the next weekend, it's like, oh my God.
You dread it.
Yeah.
I always used to do that too.
Coming back down to 10 or 12, which will seem like not a lot off of 18 or 20. You can do 10 miles and it's not like doesn't take up your whole day, and you can kind of do it with your eyes closed. Once you're coming off the longer runs,
yeah.
I just find that's just a more manageable cycle. And it's just more realistic, I think.
It's predicting my pace to be 346 to 351, and that drives me insane.
Well, we have to earn that faster.
I fucking have.
Just me manipulating it behind the scenes.
Every time I log in, like I see that number and I'm like, because I run significantly faster than the paces that it asks me to.
Yeah, it's not an exact science, but it's...
I find it makes me so mad. And it's also relative. Like, I know that it doesn't matter, but I don't know why. Just saying that number, I'm like, I'll show you.
That's why often as people back in the day, we have 3 different programs based on volume. But the more you run, the faster you could run if you stay healthy.
Yeah.
So people that were running 3 days a week or no days a week would sign up for the program and see the 3 predictions. And of course, the sexier one is the faster one. So if one was 401, if the middle program was 401 to 408, and then the faster, the more advanced program was predicting you to run 356 to 401, you're obviously going to pick that. But it'll be like, hey, do you know you have to run 6 days a week for this? You're probably going to get injured and then not run at all.
Ever again.
But if people just see the prediction and then they don't read what it takes. So yeah.
Here's a question about track. What is the advantages of running track for when you're marathon training?
I mean, just in general, our interval training should be it's just getting your mind and body calloused to faster paces and gets you fitter. I think it's also more fun. The beauty of the track is that it's typically 400-meter track. It's flat. You can do easy math with a basic watch where you're like, oh, that was 1:58 for the lap. That's a 7:52 mile pace.
Yeah.
Whereas like I used to do the same workouts that we do at Red Hook. I used to do them in Central Park, and I would do them on the roads. Engineers Gate crew does the same workouts we do at Red Hook, but it's it's on a trail half the time, and when we do 600s or thousands, it's weird in the park because I have like 800 meters and 400 meters marked out for them and a mile, and you can kind of do 12s and ladders, but 1,000 and a 6 is kind of random in the park. So it's really, I think it's flat, it's easy math. You can typically, other than the wind, it's going to be the same every time. Whereas in Central Park, if we're doing repeat 600s or 800s rather, out 3 and back 3, each one of those courses is going to be different.
Yeah. Because
of the hills and the out and back. Whereas the track, it's the same every time.
Interesting. If
so
someone
you can also run faster on the track because it's flat and not uphill.
And you know
trail.
exactly how far is ahead of you.
And you can get 200-meter splits.
Yeah. If someone's like just starting to incorporate speed work and track work and stuff like that, like what are some things that they should keep in mind?
Track, people often I feel like older guys do this where they go to the track and they break out their spikes from like high school and they like pull a hamstring. Just because you're on the track doesn't mean it has to be, speed work is relative. Doesn't mean you, like repeat miles that's faster than marathon pace is technically speed work.
Yeah. So
it doesn't mean sprinting. But it's also very easy to go out too fast on the track because you maybe have flashbacks to high school track or gym class, which were unpleasant memories.
Yeah. It took me a while to get past the whole like high school mile thing.
That's why when anyone I work with for the first time and we want to do a track workout, I have them do 8 times a lap.
Oh.
Because you can't screw it up too much in one lap. If you went out too fast, we take a break and you regroup. If we're doing repeat miles and you went out too fast in the first mile, it kind of affects the whole workout.
Yeah.
So we'll do 1 lap at a time, take a break, and maybe if they're really struggling, I'll make them do 4 or 6 of them. Just gives me an idea what paces they're doing, we're working with. And again, it's just easy math. So it's just this very kind of a baby step to track workout before you start doing 10 times like faster intervals or a ladder but again, I'm working on this Couch to 5K audio program. And it's kind of awkward because I'm in the recording studio and I'm just like, you got this, but no one's there yet. I'm talking to a microphone, but I'm bringing people along where they gradually run longer segments of running and less time of break. You should see me in this booth. It's ridiculous. I have to record 24 workouts, 3 runs a week for 8 weeks.
Oh God.
But I think track is a nice place to start because
I do too.
I can see if you take out the intimidation factor and I'm not allowed to be here and I'm not fast enough to work out on the track, it's do 4 laps and see what your time is. That's your mile pace.
That's why I love the track that we go to in Red Hook because it is very much like a community track. Like in Manhattan, we have the East River track where everyone trains, and I find the East River track intimidating because everyone is there.
All these different groups.
All these different crews, all these different groups. Whereas when you go to Red Hook, like it's not about like crews. It's about, like there are people who live in Red Hook, running there, jogging there.
Right.
Like you have older people. Like you have people doing Tai Chi in the corner. You have like.
And right now there's a fence and a big forest in the middle, and so there's no soccer balls flying at you because you can't play soccer currently.
Yeah. But it's just less. It's less intimidating. Which like it's up to us to make it less intimidating, but. It is just a reminder that like it's just a tool.
Right.
It's not a like place that you should feel out of place at. If anyone makes you feel like that, like send them our way. We will scold them with words.
We'll check them.
It's stupid. Yeah, don't let anyone do that to you. Okay, let's talk race. I have never run a race where someone told me like run 4 easy, run 4 medium, run 4 hard, and then race. And I would even say, like, we didn't take off easy. Like, we definitely took off, like, medium. And our second mile was, like, a little too fast. But it totally, like, broke me out of that thing. Like, I think me and Jeannie knew what we wanted to run. We both wanted to run 145. We thought that was doable. We thought, we were both ready to do that. But, like, that whole breaking it up like that was brain-blowing.
It's just, I did the same thing because I ran with my friend Daniel at NYC Half, which is part of the reason why I couldn't go down to Virginia. And it was a new course, and it was windy and cold, And he was not as fit as he was for the marathon. He ran 3:12 in New York, but he hasn't done a lot of running. I was coming off being sick, so I didn't run for a week. And then I was like, should I even be doing this? Probably not, but we did it anyway. But it forces you to ease into it.
Yeah.
Because even if you said you were even too fast, and then you were too fast that second mile, say you didn't have any instructions and you might have went out on 144 pace out of the gates, and then just been never comfortable and always out of breath, and then that's 12 or 13 miles of being uncomfortable, especially at the end. Whereas you can just enjoy it and let the race come to you, especially in Marathon Sunday.
Yeah.
That first 5K should be like a joke versus going out too fast. So it's just an exercise to get you to ease into something, find your rhythm, and then race. And so you don't have the pressure to race out of the gates or when the gun goes off.
Yeah.
And most of us are not, to be honest, like I didn't warm up at all.
Either did I.
Before it was like freezing, and I had all this gear on and stripped down, and so I used the first couple of miles as my warm up, which is what you should do at the marathon because you're running 26.2. Why add to it? Now you do that like you like in Cincinnati, you might run a couple of miles and then do the half, or a couple of miles afterwards. People do that all the time where you're adding on to the half because the half is not the main focus. It's just part of the training for the marathon.
Yeah.
But it's really just staying relaxed and easing into it, and then using those first few miles as your warm up to find your groove. Versus there's definitely folks that will find from some pace group like, I want to break 3 hours, and then they're
You
like
feel
out
like
of breath.
you're a slave to the pace.
And they're also out of breath in mile 1.
Yeah.
And they're like, they're just gonna hang on for dear life and then gradually fall off.
And it's a terrible experience.
Yeah, it's like
I feel like I kind of did something similar during the New York City half last year, but it wasn't the same sense of like, I trust that this is
Right.
just going to happen and I'm going to do the work to make it happen. But like, I trust that it's there, which it was just so different. And I mean, granted I had Jeannie there who,
Right.
like I'm trying to go to bed. Jeannie came in the middle of the night and I had already like taken something. So I was like super grogged out. And Jeannie's like talking to me, super excited to be there. And I'm like talking to her kind of, I don't remember anything I said. And she's like listing all the pace breakdowns like by the second
Yep.
of what we need to be doing. And I'm like, sounds good. Can't wait. And then she was like, but if we want to do 143, and I finally turned to her and I'm like, Jeannie, I'm just going to try to stay with you.
Yeah.
So whatever you got, girl.
that's what we're doing.
Shut up though, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, I need a rest.
And then thank God too, because the whole time Jeannie was calculating, like, all right, we're doing this, that, and the other. Although at one point, like a pace group came through for the marathon. They're like, congrats guys, you're on 140 pace. And I was like, yes. And then
149 pace.
Jeannie was like, no, we're on 145 pace. And I was like, fuck that guy.
Yeah, sometimes like that throws you off. I was running this weekend, and I think road runners is usually pretty good with their mile markers, but there's definitely one that was off, which means there's two of them off because we were running 650 pace, 655, 645, and then all of a sudden we ran 734. And I was like, it was a little windy there. I was a little bit coming off the FDR. I'm like, I don't think that was 734. And then the next mile split through Times Square, we ran 622. And I'm like, yep. I figured. I didn't panic with the 734. I wasn't like, we just slow down 30 seconds. We're like, our race is falling apart. I just said, that's interesting. And sure enough, this next mile, it worked itself out.
Yeah.
And so the mile markers are not always right, and pace groups, you never know where they started.
Yeah.
They might have been way back in a corral.
Yeah, they
So,
were.
all these things.
Boy, were they fresh and happy
Yeah.
about life. I mean, there was like the 3:15 or 3:20, and they were like chatting.
Yeah.
And here we are, like. But Jeannie was so funny. Whenever any pace group would come through, Jeannie would be like, "Oh, it sounds like a bunch of men," and she would she would be like, "Look at those calves." She would say, "Smells." I don't even remember what she'd say, but it was so funny. I was dying. It was the best way to make me laugh when I was like, I think she did it right after I told her to fuck off, and it just immediately put a smile on my face.
The art of distraction.
Oh my God, it was so funny. But God, those guys were like, do 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 do.
No big deal.
Walk in the park, and I'm like, damn, you guys. Okay, race went well. Where do we stand going forward? Like, I think that was a pretty good check-in. With,
Yeah.
What, 7 weeks left?
7 weeks. That was 7 weeks. We have 7 weeks
Is that how long?
now of us. So we have. We have.
Looks like there was an error. Where are we? We are on week 7.
Right. So we have.
Out of, I don't know, math.
We have 9 weeks left.
Oh, a lot more.
Yeah. So.
Over 2 months.
Yeah. So key long runs will be in there.
I would say this race was like a good 90% effort.
Good. And that And that's basically 3:28 pace. 3:29.
Although there was a point where I was telling Dr. Bob this, where I finished and I was like, there's no way in hell I can do that twice.
Well, to be honest, I ran the Central Park today, and I was running probably a minute slower per mile than I ran in the race. And I was like, I was only running 6 miles versus the 13. And I was like, how do we do this a minute faster? I was running with my friend Daniel again. And it was just, we didn't get up for the 6 mile run like you did the half marathon. And obviously the marathon day, you'll be juiced up and all that. So, juiced up in a positive, natural way.
We can't afford steroids.
Yeah.
We would if we could.
So, but yeah, I would like to, hopefully the weather will, I know you're doing some traveling coming up, which can be tricky, but long runs, getting in that quality day. And if you can't find a track, you can always do, hill work or.
Why does it give me 1 quality day instead of 2? Like for the most part, like I think it only is giving me tempo runs, not track days.
Intervals, mine has intervals 1 week, then tempo. And also the flex day, which is like your day to do what you want. That sometimes I'll add a day of running, and I usually do a tempo run once a week anyway, just because if I run a race, it's a tempo run. Yeah. Or I'll just add it. But this program is less is more, so it always errors on doing less than too much.
I think I'm excited for the next month, especially just to focus on hills. Yeah. Too for the most part, I'll be doing Tuesday hill repeats, Thursday tempo, and then trying to find people wherever I am to join me.
Especially for those long runs. Yeah,
which that won't be that hard, which will be good. And Cincinnati's super hilly when I go out there, not for the pig, but beforehand, so I get to run a hilly. I think I do 14 that day, but yeah, we're on track to do 3:35.
Yeah. I definitely want to get under 3:40, and then it's just if it's perfect weather, that gets us another 2 minutes. If we just happen to feel great, air quality, all these little factors, kind of take off minutes here and there, and then, maybe we run 3:33, maybe we run 3:36. But it's, this is now where we get into the quality workouts, the quality long runs.
So what's the most important stuff to hit in these next couple weeks?
Long runs for sure.
Long runs?
Because you can do hills and whenever you want, and kind of that's fine. And not that you don't want them to be focused in quality, but if you're gonna miss anything, miss the quality and get that. The long run is a different type of quality, but you have to run 26.2 miles, so you can't skip on that. And if your long run 1 week is you skip it, that's fine. You can change it the next week, or if it's supposed to do 18, you do 16. Or 1 week you're supposed to do 16 and do 8. Those are all things that are, as long as you're getting the long runs in. And they're basically one every other week. Yeah. Because the ones on the off weeks are 10 or 12, and relatively speaking, they're long, but not once you start getting into 16, 18, 20, 22. Those are going to be key. We might want to do, I could talk about running a 10K somewhere, just to kind of another effort to be okay, where are we at? That always helps to kind of assess things.
Yeah, because I'm doing, I think the only race I have is the LA Nike 10K, which I literally just signed up for before we pressed record. And that's April 23rd, maybe? No, 22nd?
Sunday?
I think it's April 22nd. And then Flying Pig, I'm just running for fun.
Get some miles in.
Get miles. And otherwise, I don't think I have. Brooklyn Half, but I'm only doing 8 miles of it. With my fam.
There we go.
For every mother counts. All right, let's get into questions. Okay, this one's for me. Question for you, Kelly. Not so much Coach John, sorry. What do you think is different this time? You seem better this go around. What does that mean? Stronger, more confident, happier, finding the joy in it. Did something just click? Is it your new coach's teaching style? Or is it that your body's healed and ready to go now? Okay, that's sweet. Thank you. I do think I'm having a lot more fun because I'm training with people, which I didn't have the second go around, and that sucked for me. I am not healed. I'm still struggling with this piriformis in TFL muscle. But, not to discredit Josh, because Josh had terrified Kelly, who didn't know what she was doing. Right. Josh did a great job, and the only reason I am here is because of Josh.
Makes it easy for me to coach because I don't have to do all that hard work.
Yeah, Josh did all the leg work.
I get the icing on the cake. Do this with all the batter.
Yeah, time to move.
Oh, gotta move.
Mine told me too.
Ooh.
Creepy. Yeah, I think after 2 years, I just believe in myself, and so I'm not as terrified as I used to be.
More experienced.
And I'm very grateful to be not hurt. Like, I'm hurt, but I can run. And boy, did those 6 months not running suck. Fueling for a marathon during the marathon. How many calories, how often? We kind of just talked about this, but...
Yeah, that's fueling is so unique to, how many calories, how often. It's really just kind of documenting what you do in practice and then documenting how you feel. And then on race day, if it's hotter than you're used to, that's a whole other factor. And it also goes into hydrating all week and the night before, what you're eating and the morning of. So you could look at some type of calorie chart or, like calculator for fueling. Even in the Run Tricks program, Matt's wife does some nutrition, and she this is like a strategy that you can follow, and it's for mine to be catered to me, and putting that as weight and height and all that stuff and gender. Me not being a nutritionist, it's more I just do how does it feel, what works. Definitely figure out what's going on the race day if it's too hot, because I might do a gel every 30 minutes if it's really hot versus every 45, which is what I typically do. You do it by miles. It's really just do it in practice and see what and do different things in practice and see what makes you feel best. It's really that's the simplest way to say it.
I always look ahead at where the water stops are going to be during the race, because if I plan to do it every 5 miles, but there's not going to be a water stop one, you have to adjust, and I would much rather take my gel earlier than later, as you saw what happened in Virginia Beach. Because otherwise you just... Yeah, but don't stress too much about how many calories and how many whatever. What happened, it's not that complicated. It really isn't. Suggestions for back of the pack, 13-minute mile and up runners. What's the most important thing to focus on when trying to improve time endurance, and what's your take on interval running?
I feel like anyone can do interval running, regardless if you're training for a 5K. I have people doing interval training in this Couch to 5K I'm building. I just think it's more fun to run fast. And if you're running 13-minute miles, one thing I do think is interesting when it comes into long runs for folks running 13-minute miles or slower, because their 22-miler might be 6 hours. I don't think people should do a 6-hour training run necessarily.
Yeah.
So that's something that ties into maybe a little different. I might cap people at 3 hours or 3.5 for a long run, even though they might run 6 hours. For intervals, I think are more fun. It helps you understand efforts in different paces versus being on the roads where you don't have that tool, like you said, of checking in every 200 meters and doing quick math. But I think whether it's a 5K or a marathon, I think interval training just breaks up. Obviously, variety is the spice of life. If I just ran every day and didn't do tempo every once a week and didn't do a interval session, I would just be bored.
I wish I would have done it so much sooner. Interval training is so much fun.
And then you also, when you do interval training, you're like, I just ran hard.
It builds confidence.
And then the next day you're gonna run easier because you just ran hard, versus just running too hard every day and not realizing, and next thing you know you're overtrained. And so,
it really isn't about fast and slow. It's about strong, building strength. Period.
And it's more fun, I think.
It's so much more fun. And when you go to the track, you get to walk. How do you maintain momentum when you start hitting a wall in training? Example, I've been training for a 10K and considered jumping into a training for a half after, but my poor body is getting tired. I've tried taking it easy and being smart about increasing distances, but I know I'm going to have to pull back some and modify my training, meaning I will miss out on my race I was hoping for. Just curious how you balance goals with reality of life, when to push through and not quit something that's difficult by design, but also not pushing yourself to injury or exhaustion.
Yeah, well, sometimes they would focus on the 10K and then we're like, let's do a half instead. And then, so I think it's always good to see one thing through. And not that you can't combine training, but your body does get beat up, and if you're injured or run down or sick, that's when running gets not fun.
Yeah.
You're forcing it, you feel awful, everything hurts. So take an extra cross training day, that's why actually sometimes speed can kind of get you out of a funk if you're just running every day and not doing any quality.
Yeah.
And you want to get that pace separation where some days are really hard and some days are really easy. And that's, my paces range from maybe 6-minute pace to close to 10-minute pace sometimes. It's a big range. Some people have too narrow of a window of paces. Everything's kind of similar, whether they're racing or going for a run. But mentally and physically, if you cross train, take a yoga class, take a spin class, do something different. Don't do anything athletically. Take a art class if you really run down. But I would definitely. It's easy to kind of get, like, for example, the NYC half just happened, and then we're 9 weeks out from Brooklyn half.
Yeah.
So people, oh god, I missed a week of Brooklyn. Well, no, you just train. You basically had a 10-week head start. Make sure you have a recovery week or two. It's really tough to do that. It's easy just to jump back into the next thing, and you never give yourself a mental and physical break. But it sounds like she was doing like too many goals at once. And
people shy away from racing 5Ks and 10Ks because the half marathon and the marathon, we just assume are, more impressive goals, when that's not the case. Like, training to really bust a 5K is not only really fun and doable, but you can get really good workouts training for a 5K. You focus on speed instead of distance, which is a really fun way to turn everything on its head. So,
or if you're training for a half marathon, do the 10K as a tempo run.
Yeah.
And so you're still running the race. Maybe it's not your fastest, but it's still helping your training. And
specify your goals, because you don't have to run. Make sure you want to be running. Otherwise, don't do it. What should the last week or 2 weeks before the race look like? Which race? What are you training for?
Training for a half at the bottom there, she said.
Oh, good.
I was thinking the same thing.
How many runs? How long? What should we focus on? Half marathon, there's a 1 week taper, right?
Maybe even 2 weeks, 10 days. So I think you could do your longest run before the race 2 weeks out. And then I still do intervals the last 2 weeks of a training. I just do less of them.
Yeah.
So we usually do 3 miles worth of work. We'll do 2 miles.
Yeah.
Or maybe we do something that's kind of a softball workout, where softball being an easy, lobbing it up, where you do a mile at half marathon pace and then 4 times a quarter. That's pretty easy to do because half marathon pace is really easy. It's hard for 13.1, but it should be easy for 5K. So if you're asking yourself to do 1 mile at goal pace, so you're still in that structure and that routine.
Yeah.
I think some people put on the brakes and do nothing, and they're almost too rested, or they're too freaked out because I'm losing fitness, I'm not doing anything. So I just do less of what I was doing and then less intense. And the week of, you kind of can do whatever you want. You can run every other day. I just wouldn't try new things that week.
Yeah.
Oh, let's take the spin class because
don't do that.
Let's help my friend move. No.
What's your best advice for base building?
Base can be tricky because I think it can be more boring because you don't have to do the track workouts yet. You just want to get a couple weeks under your belt of getting your routine down like we did initially.
Yeah. But we still did interval stuff. I love interval stuff.
Yeah, you can just do easier versions of intervals. This doesn't have to be hard, super hard. Interval workouts, you can go to the track and run an easy workout.
Yeah. I just think it's so much more fun.
Yeah. Base is really just getting more, an extra day or two of running for a week and gradually building your mileage.
You know what I would say? If you're building your base, do your strength training.
Yeah.
And put your focus there. And then get your miles.
And you can also cross-train during that time.
Yeah.
So when you have to cross-train, when you're maybe a little bit injured, you're used to it versus, I have to learn how to do the elliptical now.
Yeah. You're doing the elliptical?
Well, we'll see.
He says that every time.
It's behind us in this room.
Tips on how to get faster. Oh, girl,
Speed.
we have talked about this so much.
By running faster.
Yeah. Go back and watch old stuff with him. It really is just about doing intervals. If you want to run faster, you have to run faster.
And then rest in between. Do that once a week, you'll get faster.
Intervals. The secret is intervals. How can you do... Oh, I can read well. What can you do to improve your breathing while running? I'm not going to let you answer this because there's an entire series coming with my PT Rachel about this, because they've been working with me on my breath because my breath blows and I do this when I run like everyone else.
Just take a mint.
Brush your teeth.
God.
And everyone breathes wrong and it takes a lot of work. So Stay tuned.
There we go.
God bless Finish Line Physical Therapy. You would never guess. I mean, I'm blown into balloons. I have a ball between my legs. Like, it is out there.
X-rated version.
Yeah, exactly. We're trying to get more views. How do you make the transition? I totally just cracked myself up.
That's good.
How do you make the transition from half to full marathon? Half seems almost impossible to me, and I'm training for my third one. Considering doing a full marathon one day, but how do you get the mental strength to just keep on going?
Just think back to your first half when that probably felt impossible.
Yep,
And
that's
then,
true.
And so then in a half marathon, you might build to a 10-mile run or 11 or 12-mile run. In the marathon, you're like, you gotta get up to 18 or 20, and this is impossible. So it's really just gradually increasing that long run.
Yeah.
But you have to be ready. You have to be mentally and physically like rested and ready to go. If you're just run 3 halves and you're like, oh God, I have to do this
Now's
marathon.
the time.
Just wait till the next year or the spring and focus on a 5K or something.
I always say don't run a marathon unless you feel compelled to run a marathon. Just because like a half marathon is not halfway to a marathon. They are such different beasts. And then don't do it alone. You can do it alone. I did it alone. But it is so much more fun to do it with a group. Like do it with a training group, make your training group, recruit people from your block, recruit people from the Badass Lady Game Facebook group, join a charity team. It is just having that support system is very...
And especially for the first one, you want to finish strong and enjoy it, and not really care about time, although time does come into play with training and different paces and knowing what pace you should run on that day. But the number one advice I hear from other coaches is to enjoy it, don't worry about time.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Okay, how do I prevent cramping towards the end of a marathon? I ran 3 and without fail, my legs began cramping around mile 18. It's extra strange because it hasn't happened to me during my 20 and 22 mile training runs. Help a sister out.
Well, you're probably running harder on race day, so that you're taxing your body in various different ways,
Cramping
including
is
depleting
nutrition.
it. So definitely, we just talked about this a little bit at the long run. It's like, we can kind of get away with not drinking water on long runs because we're not going that hard. But on race day, you kind of need to pay attention to it. It's maybe you need some sodium tablets. There's I would talk to a nutritionist because it definitely is nutrition.
Yeah.
It's just maybe trying different things. Maybe you need to fuel more often. Maybe it's hydrating throughout the week more, or maybe changing your meal night before meal or morning of meal.
I thought you were going to say night before meal.
Well, that's whatever works for you. Nothing new on race day or race week. If that's what you do and it works, great. It's definitely nutrition, and I think definitely.
I cramped during my first marathon. Like I've never cramped before, which I don't think it was nutrition. I think it was the fact that I was not ready to run a marathon and my legs were just giving out. Because I had 20 gels in my sports bra.
I had a whole pizza at mile 15 and it didn't work out so well.
This is an interesting one that I'm actually also interested in. What fears does John go through when running? Is that even a factor for you?
This past run, I had a fear because I was supposed to pace my friend Daniel, and I had the flu all week, and I'm like, probably shouldn't have run at all. So my fear was that I was going to pace someone and I get dropped at mile 2. But it's rare that I get nervous anymore because I'm not competing like I used to.
Yeah.
And that was really nerve-wracking, and I was to the point where I would get myself sick because I was competing at such a high level, and it was higher stakes, and you're trying to qualify for various races and meets and Olympic type stuff. Now I just enjoy it. I'm more, if I'm out of shape, this is gonna hurt. Like the Red Hook crit last year, I was out of shape. It was hot for the first time, and there was so many turns, and there was 4 different loops. It was 4 loops. After one, I was like crying, and I'm like, I have to do this 3 more times. So some of those races, like a 5K or a Fifth Avenue mile type race, can really hurt because it's not a half marathon where you can ease into it. It's kind of aggressive out of the gates. So if I'm fitter, it's more fun. If I'm not so fit, I fear the pain. That's why I'll enter myself in races and run them, and I'm like, wow, that hurts more than it needs to hurt. I need to train more. And then I'll sign up for another race and be like, I better run this week because that's going to be less painful if I train and I'm fitter. So fear factor is more just the pain you go through when you ask yourself to do hard things.
Oh, God. Recommendations for strength training and speed training for a new runner. You covered speed, but strength.
This is an interesting question because we've talked about this before in the sense you should actually do this on the same day, because then you run into it where I'm going to do speed one day and the next day I'm taking the day off from running, but I'm going to do strength. Well, then you're doing hard strength the next day, and then the one day you're doing hard running, and then you never take anything easy.
Yeah.
You're doing something hard each day. I think that equals getting hurt or run down later on. So if you're going to do a bunch of strength, do it after a hard run.
Yeah.
Either right after it or even later that day, so then the next day is completely easy or off or restful, or you're stretching and doing yoga. But it's often, I'm not going to lift weights or do strength stuff after my hard run because I'm tired.
Yeah.
But then you're never taking rest.
Yeah. Here's a question that isn't on here, but I'm just genuinely curious. How do you process pain, or like getting faster in that pain? Is it just like second nature to you, and do you just know to push through it?
I definitely gotta it's all in cycles. So if I'm fitter than average,
I think this John is a lot more relatable.
Yeah, I suffer a lot out there, just because I'm not as fit as I used to be. It's all relative, but that's one thing I've added this last cycle for me is the tempo runs on Thursdays. If I don't run a race, which is are basically tempo runs because I'm not just going as even as possible for 5K or 10K, is I do the track workouts and I'll do the long runs, but I'm missing out that third day of quality. And so when I do those, I realize how hard they are. And oftentimes I'm on my own or I'm with one person in the group, because tempos are tricky because they all run different paces. So it's nice to start together like we do in Thursday now in Prospect Park on Thursday mornings. But it's something that I've been saying for like 2 years I need to do and just haven't done it. So then finally our group off the hook, we've just been meeting on Thursdays. The beauty of that is like I can show up and I can go for an easy run, but maybe my easy run is your tempo. So you can show up and just go for a run, and it usually helps someone out. And then you used to get your run in and you're getting there, the community aspect of it. But I just find if I don't go hard, I don't really know how bad a shape I'm in until I race. And then you're like, oh God, that's how bad a shape I'm in.
That's exactly what I thought.
I was like, oh, because you kind of can get like faked into like, I'm kind of fit. And then you're in a race, you're like, nope. Especially if it's any type of heat or the course has any type of hills, you can't really fake that.
Yeah.
You can fake a flat 5K sometimes. But like a hilly 10K, I'll run and I'm like, wow, I didn't even run faster than this pace. I'm definitely not as fit as I thought. And those are good wake-up calls to get me motivated. Do you think
because you just inherently know that you can do X, Y, or Z because, that's just kind of what you can do if push came to shove, even regardless of how strong that is, like that fear is not really that big of a mountain for you? I mean, it's hard because he's been running forever.
Yeah, it's just more, I also run smarter now.
Yeah.
Even if I'm in bad shape, I kind of know it. And I'm like, maybe I can run 6:10 pace. Oh, and I'm usually really close. And so I can't afford to make, when I was fitter, I can go out too fast and then hang on. Or if I'm actually racing someone and they go out too fast, I can counter their move and tactics play out a certain way. But now I really have not a lot of tactics. I think I can run this pace. I'm going to go out in this pace because I want to hurt less. If I go out too fast and I slow down, I'll still run the same pace overall, but it's just not a smart way of doing it, and it's just an inefficient way of doing it. So I'm just, I guess, more experienced, and I know what I know, and so it usually it allows me to not be too nervous because I'm going to run within where I think I'm going to run.
Do you use mantras or do you just bang it out?
I actually always say, I was actually doing a thing on the mantras yesterday on my Couch to 5K, and the mantra is form, because that distracts me from how I'm feeling.
Yeah.
And I'm actually focusing on what my hands are doing, what my head's doing, and usually that'll get me more efficient, which makes me feel better and run faster. And that's just it's a very simple mantra, but I probably say form the most in as I coach or even my own running.
He does.
It's just, people are like, this guy just says form. But it's easy to forget and daydream when you're running and just like, you don't know what your hands are doing.
And that comes into the whole breathing thing.
Yeah, so just like be conscious of what your body's doing once in a while. Are your hands too tight?
Yep.
Are they coming across your body or going straight back?
Yep. And
it's just again, it's a mantra that I use that helps distract me from how I'm feeling, but also get me more on track and not daydreaming. And you can't focus on your form the whole marathon, but you do need to check in once in a while, and it's helpful for someone to remind you, just to kind of take a quick pulse, like, what am I doing?
Why am I running like this?
Yeah. Ooh.
You should see in the pictures. I mean, pictures of me at Virginia Beach at the end there were like...
Stand up straight, look ahead, up tall, elbows back, relax those hands.
It is a struggle. All right. Well, we're doing good.
Yeah.
Much better than expected.
And we're having fun, which is key. You need to enjoy what you're doing. It sounds cheesy, but if you hate it and you're dreading it and you're counting down the long runs, I got 4 more long runs to do, I can't go out on Friday nights, then don't run the marathon.
Yeah.
Run those 5Ks, and have fun. Play dodgeball. Like, whatever. Like, dude, join a Zog League. You don't have to run. There's a community, other ways to get community and get, but your running can be really bad for you.
That's true. It's bad for your knees.
But if you hate it, it's not going to be fun.
All right. Then it's all happening, Who knows what's going to happen? Who knows? I don't know. You don't know.
I didn't realize I was going to have the flu for 2 weeks.
He has the flu.
So.
I'm not going to have the flu. It's not going to happen for me. All right. Well, Honerkamp, it's been fun.
Kelly.
Let's just end it here.
Keep up the good work.
We peaked at Virginia Beach. Let's just call it a day.
We're done. We're out.
I have 16 tomorrow.
We're going to go play dodgeball.
We're going to go play dodgeball. All right. Kick ass. Take names. Big hero bust. Everybody was kung fu fighting.